Hi everybody, Giselle Grenier here from artplace.ca. So today I thought I'd try something different, just to give you an idea what I've done already. So I did a video on attaching covers to an existing journal, okay, using cardboard, okay. What I did is I did that again, okay, but I just took the cardboard, and what I did is I wrapped the cardboard with paper that I did paper marbling. You can use any paper really, and wrap that around. And it was, I think the print was blues and greens and whatever. And then what I did is I applied, oh my goodness, quinacridone. Which one was it? Quinacridone crimson or quinacridone red? Violet. Quinacridone violet. Because it's semi-transparent, because I wanted all the lines to show through. Now, it is very, very shiny, but I'm going to be putting on a matte gel on this to get rid of the shine, because I'm going to do a couple of things. Now, what I also forgot to do, you can tell these two are a little bit different. This one here, I forgot to actually put the glue down to glue this to the board. So it's not only did it warp a little bit, there's a little bit of play here, okay, whereas this one here is nice and flat because I glued everything together. So what I also did is I got some cutouts. This is from some paper that Joe picked up for me, and you're going to use the cutouts. I'm not going to use them the way they are like this, but what I'm going to do is there's going to be some collage, some modeling paste, using homemade stencils, scraping paint on, wiping it off. There's going to be a whole bunch of stuff. And what I'm also going to do, I'm going to reach. I've got this particular journal. This is one I did out of Terraskin, and I was showing this in a class. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you how to attach covers onto an existing journal without having to do any sewing. Okay, no stitching. All right, so I'm going to use this. So it'll look basically like that. So what all you need to do is basically cut out from cardboard slightly larger than your actual book, okay? Glue and wrap paper around. It doesn't matter what the inside is going to be, okay? This doesn't matter, so don't worry about that, okay? So that's that. Now, I'm going to use this one here. This is going to take some drying time, so I'm going to be doing this over a bit of a span, because the particular thing I'm going to do with the modeling paste, you cannot dry it with a heat gun. Alright, so in 2 steps, I've got some matte extender gel here. What I want to do first is I want to glue these down onto the board, because when I paint over it, then I'm going to use, there's going to be 2 layers of paint that I'm just going to use a cloth and kind of slightly wipe the paint off the lettering to give it a distressed look. I've used this on gelatin mono printing. I don't care about the color. Okay, to help get rid of the shine as well, though, is I'm going to put some matte extender gel on this, and it's used basically for impasto. It's really, really thick, but it'll also hold the strokes and will dry transparent, but it will help get rid of a little bit of the shine. You don't have to do this. I just want some random texture, because when I put the paint on and wipe it off, you're going to see all those lines. Now, I'm going to be putting some birds on here, so I want to kind of do a play on tree branches. So I'm kind of carving something out here. If I put a little bit of a tree stump. So I typically would do this with modeling paste, but this is not what I want to use the modeling paste for. I want this to be transparent. Okay, so it looks like there's some trees there. All right. Now here, I'm going to put this a little bit thicker, and I know it's shiny right now. Put a good layer on there, and I'm just going to put my letters. And you can see that they're all random. And if you want to try this, you go to a magazine and just cut out letters. Okay. I'm going to push that in. Now, I'm not going to put medium on top of this because I want the paint to actually stick to this. But as I'm doing this, I am touching a little bit of the gel onto the letters. So when the paint goes on there, it's going to be a different texture. This one's not sticking right, so I'm going to turn it around. There we go. A little bit of a smudge there. Well, that's going to be interesting. Okay, so I've got that done. So I'm going to let that dry, and I put that aside. And what I also did for one of the daily challenges, what I did is I created my own stencil, and I just took a photograph of a bird and laid it down on some, this is vellum for wedding invitations, and I just used that. You can actually buy stencil material, or you could just use paper, it doesn't matter. Then I cut it with an X-Acto knife, and it was cut quite rough. And then I took the cutouts and got these little ones too, so I can use this way and this way. These ones here I'm going to use with the modeling paste. Okay. These ones though, what I'm going to do is, which one can I do this? I just want to push. I didn't quite make that high enough. I'm going to push this in. Burnish it, and then I'm going to remove it. What that'll do, that'll leave an impression. That'll leave an impression. I may not have enough medium on there, but that's okay, so we're going to layer this. A little bit. Let me just put a little bit more on. Now if you use just modeling paste, it's going to, just the modeling paste will make it opaque. I want this to be transparent. I just don't want to get it on the letters. There we go. Push, 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 push. It'll create like a groove. Where's your beak? Okay. I'm just going to kind of scrape a little bit, just a little bit away. I'm just going to pop it down the bottom. Okay, like that. And then I'll pull it up. That's better. This I could just wash in water. I'm just going to put my little water bucket there. Okay. Now, let me just pull a little bit of that up. It's already starting to dry. This is good. So this is kind of like where it's kind of grooved in, and where the other one I'm going to do is through the actual stencil. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of paper towel. I know it's really shiny. It won't be shiny for too much longer. I'm just going to pad inside, which is going to create some texture. Okay, let's see if I can do this way. It's going to create some texture. Okay. I like using products that aren't really sort of meant to be use like this. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to put that aside, and I'm going to grab, I'm just going to clean up my hands for a sec. Okay, for this one here, I'm going to take a little bit of phthalo blue and a little bit of ultramarine blue. And what this will do will get you something almost like cobalt. A little bit more ultramarine blue though. I want the intensity of phthalo blue, but I want the warmth of ultramarine blue. This one here, this is with phthalo blue, that's ultramarine blue. So I want something kind of like in the middle. Phthalo blue is blue that's on the green side of the color wheel, where ultramarine blue has a little bit more violet in it. Okay. While I'm here, so I want to get rid of the shine on this as well. And I'm going to add a little bit, yeah, I know I got it dirty, I don't care. I'm going to put some extender gel in there as well, matte extender gel. I try to avoid using anything glossy as the finish because everything sticks together. Alright, put that back up there. This is going to take a little bit to dry to the point where it'll be usable, so it'll give me time to clean up. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I'll work it down this way, is I'm going to take a little bit of this paint, and I'm just going to put some at the top like this. Then I'm going to take an old siding, house siding sample chip from Lowe's, and I'm going to scrape that down. See the lines? That's cool. Didn't expect that. That's because of the cardboard underneath. That's why. You can do this any way you want. I kind of like that. That was not expected. Okay. Well, what I was going to do was going to remove some of this. It's going to make branches, but I wonder if I even need to. Well, let's try it. Okay, so got that. Now I'm going to take this piece. What is this? This is just a box tab from Winning Colors, and I just put both sides with varnish, and then I just use an X-Acto knife and I cut out a whole bunch of random shapes. While the paint is still wet, and I'm just going to remove a little bit of the paint. This is why I like doing stuff myself, because nobody else will have a kind of like a cutout stencil like this. Okay, like that. You can see a little bit of the medium there, that's fine. And then what I can do is, I'm going to be doing two birdies here. This one here I'm going to put on the bottom. And I'm just going to wipe out a little bit more there. Okay, lift that out. Okay, see that? Now, to do this part here, actually I probably could do it now. I'm going to use modeling paste, but white. I'm not going to add any color to it. I'm just going to wipe that down a little bit. Okay. Should really let that dry though. And where's my scissors? Let me just make this a little bit smaller. It's a little awkward. There we go. That's the beauty of doing it yourself. You can do whatever you want. Okay. So that's going to go there. Doesn't matter if there's paint there. And now I'm going to take some modeling paste, which is its basic form. Think of drywall stucco, drywall mud. Okay, and I'm going to push that. Push that in. And try not to slide anything around and go away from the edge. Hope I got a little bit on the board. If you go this way, you might actually put the stuff underneath. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Making it thick enough. Whoops. I can't see. I'm trying to... There we go. Let's see what we get. Well, little birdie looks like he's got a little belly on him. I could... bring that down to make it look like little feetsies. Or leave it the way it is. That'll, when we put the paint on, it'll give a really nice texture. There we go. Just going to leave that like that. Okay, so one was removed and one was added. So we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to come in and we're going to put some paint on that, and that's going to pick up all the really interesting texture. So this is going to take, I'm going to go and wash everything out. This is going to take probably, this is going to take about at least an hour to dry. So I'll see you in a bit. Okay, well I changed my mind. I don't want to let this paint go to waste. So this look that I have here, I'm going to replicate it here. So what I'm going to do is basically just going to take, I'm just going to take, let's say iridescent white. Okay. And I'm going to take a little bit of blue. I'll just mix that up on here. We need to get a really, really light color down first. Okay, and we probably have a strong glare there. And scraping the paint, it pushes it right in. This is a Terra Skin journal. So on Terra Skin, it takes a little bit longer to dry because it actually doesn't absorb anything. Doesn't matter what goes on here because we're going to be covering this up. It also doesn't matter if you get this inside cover dirty, because we're going to be covering that up too. You can texture it if you want. It doesn't matter what you do. Just get the paint on there. Don't spend so much time analyzing it to death. Okay? So it's going to look something like that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put that aside and I'll let that dry. And you know what I'm going to do now? I'm going to find a place to put this. Let me just grab another journal just to throw that stuff in. I hate wasting paint with a passion. Let me just grab find something here. I like doing that on pages I don't really like. This is my wildlife page. Let me just do that here. Just to get something down there. And this will be probably covered up down the road. It's just for the texture. Okay, it's just for the texture. And put that aside to dry. Alright, now I gotta go wash my hands. I set the light a little bit just so you were able to see without all that that glare. So what I'm going to do now, let me just get that a little bit closer. What I'm going to do now is do something I just love to do. I'm going to scrape blue on here. Okay, and I'm going to drip some water. Drip some water, then wait, about 10 seconds or so. And what happened is thinning down all the paint. And when you put the paper towel on top, it actually removes. It removes it. I don't want to press too hard because I don't want to remove all the paint. Okay, I get something subtle like that. What you could also do, let me just reach. I'm going to do it on the other side as well. Now this one here can be a little bit smelly. You can do the same thing with rubbing alcohol. It's starting to dry. Just going to put a little bit of grunge here. Okay, do the same thing with rubbing alcohol. And it really dissolves it. This technique I don't mind doing with rubbing alcohol, especially if I have little cuts on my fingers. It just helps keep my hands clean. Okay, same thing, just wait a few minutes, or wait a few seconds I should say, then put that down. I want to try to get this one done now before the paint dries. Okay, so you can do it with either one. Now, while this is still damp, I'm going to put that over, and I'm going to come in just with, no, change my mind, because that's going to dry too fast. Come in, and then I'm just going to, with a baby wipe, just start to rub. Okay, just going to start to rub a little bit. Oh, let's go this way. And just start to remove some of the paint to form a circle. Don't press too hard. Well, you actually can press as hard as you want. And where the alcohol or the water was on this one here, it'll really pull it up. And you can rotate your paper towel so your baby wipe is fresher. Okay, like so. Well, that circle didn't quite work out, but that's okay. Then on this side, do the same thing. Let's get another baby wipe. So I'm going to rub a little bit harder. I've got this bunch of videos on the website, artplace.ca, showing all this type of stuff. Tons. Oh, right down to the white. That's where the rubbing alcohol was. It's just you just want to go with shape. Okay. That one's nice. All right. So now we have something on the inside. So if you want it more grungy, you can go a little bit darker. And then you can build more layers on this if you want. You can still come in with another color. Let this dry, come in with another color. I can, with textured paper towel, come in here. If there's too much paint here, I can come in and just press, and that'll remove a little bit of paint, especially in the spine. Yeah, get some nice texture in there. Mind you, I don't mind seeing a lot of the thick stuff. Here. And then, now with Terraskin, you have to be careful to dry it because it's not made of paper. It's made of stone, so it will warp. This one already warped. I was a little too close. So I just want to get it started. It'll flatten out. Okay. Alrighty, so that takes care of that. Then, when that's dry, I can repeat the same thing on this side if I want. Okay, so now I'm really going to take a break and wait for everything else to dry. Well, I lied again. I decided to I put wax paper in between the first two cover sheets and doing another one. All I did this time was just right on the Terra skin. I just scraped, I added a little bit of raw umber to the blue, and I just scraped it. So it's just one layer of paint, and now I'm just patting. And I get that. Now I'm going to, it's just random odd shapes. I want the circles to be half off the paper though. Oops, you can't see. Now you can tell that with this time, because there's no paint, it's straight on Terra skin, that the paint comes off a lot easier because the Terra skin doesn't absorb. It doesn't absorb. So you can get some really interesting textures. Let's get that up there a little bit. You can do this with anything. This is just what this is. This is from some paper, some manufactured paper that had stickers. I just took the stickers out, got rid of the backing, and just kept the die cut. You can make these. And I even have wrapping from a package of bacon that I use. Let me just make this one a little bit better. Very rustic and graffiti style. I'm going to take some paper towel and just kind of mop up the really wet stuff. And dry that. And you can layer on top of this if you want. I could even put a sheet of transparent, like the Japanese rice paper on top of this to make it like a veil. Alright, okay, I promise this time I really am going to take a break now and clean everything up. I promise. When we come back, we'll start working on the covers. So we've got everything dry now, and what I want to do first, instead, I'm going to leave the actual decorating of these until after. I want to bind these first because we can actually open the book up like this and work on the covers at the same time. Okay, so what I also did is this particular technique here, I did the same thing inside, and then I just kind of scumbled over a little bit of ivory black. Okay, the leftover paint, I just did another one. Okay, just so it uses it up. All right, so basically what we have here is we have this one, everything is dry, but you can see the indentation of the bird. Okay, and then this one here, it's the, you can feel the edges. Okay, so what we're looking at doing is creating this. Okay, so because we're actually going to be adhering the covers to the book, I'm just going to use like a medium. And this is where you don't have to sew, because all we're going to do is we're going to glue the front cover, the front of the journal, to the actual cover, and that becomes the hard cover. Easy. If your journal is just made out of lightweight paper, you'll probably need to glue 2 pages together to make it stiff enough. Okay? You can also apply, like I used a copper tape on here, which made it nice and sturdy, but you can also put a little bit of tape around if you want. So to do that, this is going to be my front, and this is going to be the back. I'm just going to line it up this way. Okay? So it's even there. Alright? So to do that, it's just so simple. Because the medium is soap and water cleanup, that I can just put it on and just wipe it off with a paper towel. You can use glue too if you want. because once everything's done, I'm going to end up putting a varnish on the front cover anyways. So you can use matte medium for this, you can use Mod Podge, you can use glue, it doesn't matter. As long as it's strong. The glue, it doesn't matter, you can use Elmer's glue, Gorilla Glue. It doesn't matter what you use. As long as it's strong. And again, at the end, we actually varnish. We're going to varnish right over the edges as well. Just make it a little bit stronger. The cardboard warped a little bit. I had a little bit too much moisture in there. In the actual paint. Okay. So now, that's the back cover. That's the front cover. So I'm just going to put that on like this. Put that on like this. Slide it around until I have what I want. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in my press. Remember that flower press that I have? I'm going to put it in my press, and that'll hold the cover down very, very strong. Now, when I use Mod Podge, okay, it dries very, very quickly. Okay, because this is Terraskin, the actual journal itself is Terraskin, it doesn't absorb, so it actually has to glue. The glue has to dry. So going into the press, or you can put 2 pieces of Masonite on here and with clamps, that's fine. Or even just really heavy telephone books. What you don't want is you don't want the cover to slide. Okay? So anyways, I'm going to see how here it's bent. There's a little bit of an opening there, so I have to make sure that I really push this down nice and tight. So I'm going to clamp that. It'll be good in about an hour. And then we'll start embellishing the cover. Alright, so now let's take this apart. Okay. So I can see where some of the medium kind of came out, but the wax paper is perfect. It doesn't stick. Okay, let me just put this away here. Alright, so now the cover is now glued to the actual book. Oh, some of the pages stuck together. That's okay. Won't take much to take them apart. Oh, see, it's my actual design. Oh, there we go. Okay. What I should have done was probably even put wax paper. This wasn't quite cured yet. Put wax paper in between there. So now that's good. And we'll go to the back. There we go. All right. So now we're all set. So now we have book covers that are attached to a journal just by gluing it. So knowing now what to do next time, I'm going to put wax paper in between. If these are painted sheets, I'm going to put wax paper right in here. Okay, so now I can flip it over this way, and now I can embellish it. So taking a look at this, thinking what I want to do, I'm thinking I want to work with some colors right in here. So I'm looking at my palette of colors, and if we've got purple up here, I'm thinking to make some complementary colors, maybe working with some oranges for here. But I don't know if I want to work with something bright like this, or if I want to look maybe something like this. And I'm thinking I'm not one for massively bright colors, so I'm thinking of just using that, because this modeling paste, it's almost like plaster. Whatever I put onto it is going to stick. I won't be able to wipe it off. Now if you want to be able to wipe it off, just put a coat, maybe even satin varnish on this, just to give it a little bit of a protection. Okay, so let's see. No, that's going to be too bright. But mind you, there is the case to be made, you know, work outside your comfort zone. The cover is already pretty bright. I'm liking that better. The yellow oxide. if I take a little bit of orange, let's see if I can just fit that into the tail. Nope, I'm going to work with the orange. I'm going to go bold. Okay, so let's see what we're going to do here. So I'm just going to basically pick up right out of the tube just a speck of paint, get a paper towel, and I'm just going to wipe off the excess. And all I want to do is a dry brush. Now that's going to stay, so I just have to work around that. And starting very light, just to give a little bit of a rub. A little bit more. And when I have the basic layers, just kind of take the brush and just kind of go against the forms of the modeling paste, and the paint is actually just going to grab on the top ridges. Like that. You know what? Let's do this. I don't know what kind of bird this could be, but let's grab a little bit of Cad Red Light. We'll make a fantasy bird. Oh yeah, that's pretty. Little fantasy bird. That's pretty. It'll tie the actual pink, the violet I should say, into the design. Everything that I'm working here are all next to each other on the color wheel. You've got Cad Red Light, you've got your red orange, your red violets, and your violets. They're beside or near each other on the color wheel. Get a brighter tail, yeah. There we go. So do we want to give our birdie an eye? Sure, why not? Put the wrong cap on. Oopsie. Now with the eye, I could use paint or I could use a fine tip marker. I'm not one for doing a lot of marker work. I prefer I'm a pet portrait artist, and I either will do graphite or pastel or paint. I'm not a huge fan of marker work, except unless it comes to writing. Like doodling, even I'll use markers, but just got a little bit of dioxazine purple there. Okay. Just dip the brush right into the paint. So now what can I do with this here? I'm thinking this. I'm just going to come in with just a little bit of iridescent white right on the dirty brush. I'm going to wipe this off too. This is a little chickadee. That's pretty the way it is. Give a little bit of a shine. There we go. See, you can draw, paint little birdies without even knowing what they are. Now these covers here, these are covers that I can build upon as I go. I don't need to finish them right now. And I like, especially depending on how the actual book itself develops, I'll actually build upon it over time. Now, my favorite gesso. Now, Melba Gesso, I absolutely love because it's made with ground marble and pure titanium white pigment. So when you put it on, it creates quite the tooth. So I'm just dipping my brush into a little bit right out of the container. And it's going to wipe off the excess. Dirty brush, doesn't matter. And it's going to go over the letters. Not completely covering them. I'm just dry brushing. On some areas pressing a little bit harder, some areas not as hard. And then I'm actually reloading right for my paper towel, so there's no waste. That one is going to need a little bit more. Oh, there we go. And as it dries, it'll change its intensity. Well, really, white is not intense per se. It's intense in the fact, the way that I'm saying is that this here, this is more intense than this. Okay, so let it dry before deciding to add more. Okay, this is actually a nice little way of doing this. There we go. That's actually quite pretty. I like that texture there. I'm going to pick up just a little bit more gesso, and I kind of just hit it in some areas. Make it a little bit stronger, always wiping the brush. Always wiping the brush. Okay. And then here, I'm just going to, if there's anything left in my brush, just going to lightly scumble over. Now this is where the bristle brush comes in handy. Might be able to see it better that way. Over where we put that bird stencil inside. Okay, so you just have a light indication of where the birdie is. I'm going to pick up a bit more white. Okay, now as I go, like I said, I will work on this journal, you know, I'll do some field studies in here. And this book here, I'll be keeping more for birds. So I'll be doing some field studies. If I'm going to be painting a bird, if I have color mixes I'm going to work on, I'll do them in this book. Keep it related just to birds. And then when I'm done, based on the theme of the content of the book, then I can come back and I can do a little bit more work on this. Just lightly go over. Create some nice texture there. I love texture. And I want. My microphone keeps getting caught. I want raw sienna. If you don't have raw sienna, yellow ochre with a little bit of burnt sienna, you get something pretty close. You'll never get a perfect match though. Going ultra modern with my easel. Okay. So what I'm looking at doing now is just basically adding a little bit of color. Kind of glazing over it, not everywhere. Now, I don't know if you can see this, as I'm doing this, sometimes there's little things flaking off here. That's the brush. That's why a bristle brush for this is best, not a synthetic, when you're working over textured surfaces like this. A little bit more raw sienna. Not too much. Just to show pushed in and pushed out. And I'll come back, you know, as I'm probably every time I make something in the book, I'll come in with something. I'll do something on the cover. So you don't even need to use a palette. And I can just come in with little feet And I could actually even just work an outline, just like a drawing. Keep it loose. And just put a wing in there like that. Keep it loose, don't put any detail into it. And that's all I'm going to do for now. And then I'll let this dry. Then put just a coat of matte varnish on it, or even matte medium. And then that'll at least protect the cover. So when I actually put this into my backpack, when I go out into the field, these will actually stay sealed. And then I can start working on whatever I want. Now what I've done too is inside some of the pages, this is paint that I've had left over from other designs, and I just scraped the paint right in here. Oh, and this is Acrylic Transfer, my sister and I. All these pieces that are in here, although this doesn't really appear, follow birds. I was using this to demonstrate in a class how to do a transfer on Terraskin. I'll leave this in here because it's nice to look at. It's my sister and I when we were little. What I'll do, because these pages are sticky, it's the gloss. Okay, in the paint, I'll go over with matte medium in this. Okay, but pages that I've already used just to get rid of paint, I will still use these. I could actually use as an informal background if I were to do a bird study. Let's say if the bird was, a brightly colored bird. And sometimes I get stuck when I'm working on white. It saves time when you're working on something that's already painted. This, I could use this more for a more modern or graffiti style design for bird, whatever. Doesn't even have to, it can be just for studies. And same thing with this, just options. This is just some collage stuff, so I can, work with something with collage. So I've got a couple of different types of backgrounds that are already done. Again, if you've already got stuff in your journal, put wax paper in between. And then this is the painting I did in the Acrylic Transfer. So I'll just keep that in there. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so there we go. So we've got this on. We've got the covers already done. The stitching is pretty straightforward. I already did a video on doing some stitching. You can do that. I just decorated this with copper tape. I have this particular video online as well. So there we go. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Pretty informal, but this is a nice, quick and easy way to attach covers to an existing journal. Again, make sure wax paper so your pages don't stick together. All right? So in closing, stay inspired.